Welcome to another episode of the All Tense Podcast. I'm your co-host, Josh West. With me, as always, Clay Harrison. Today, Clay, we're being joined by a very special guest. He brings decades of experience, and most recently, he's a strategic partner at Schooley Mitchell, helping businesses contain their costs and keep more of their profits. And he's also a big fan of EOS. Please welcome to the pod, Dane Dougall. Dane, thanks for joining us.
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me. Clay, Josh, I was so thrilled when I got the invite from Clay. We actually happened to meet during a chamber event. It was with the Hillsborough Chamber in North Carolina. The president was looking for some experienced individuals to come and help out some of the local businesses. And he proposed something to Clay and myself, and we were like, this is perfect. With both of our experiences in our last businesses, and then you talk about what we're doing now. It was like we could do this. Luckily, I got to meet Clay, strike up a little relationship, back and forth. So when he proposed, decided to come on the podcast, I was thrilled. Um, my background in business, I think it started from like my family. My dad was a business owner. He had a general contracting paint shop business. My mom, even though she was home when I was young, she was always making cakes, had her own wedding business on the side, a wedding cake business. And then as I got older, she was asked by the leading manufacturer in the country, I'm originally from Trinidad in the Caribbean, to come and start a cake division. So she led that, built a team. So I guess I was always around business owners. And then at age 18, it was time for me to go to college, which means if you're growing up in Trinidad, you're most likely going away to study. So that's what led me to the U.S. So I ended up moving up North Carolina, going to college at UNC Asheville, a smaller one. Lived with my sister. She was up there already. And my brother-in-law, I'm like a typical college kid, like, what am I going to study? I don't know. And he was like, go get an accounting degree. He's like, you could always fall back on it. Or if you really do become a business owner, you would actually know the financials. So that's what I ended up doing. Got the degree and then, was like, okay, what next? What next? And a buddy calls me from Trinidad with an idea. He's like, look, man. He's like, you got to think early 2000, internet shopping is starting to become like a everyday thing. It's not like obviously it is now. And he's like, would you want to move to Miami? I got this great idea where we can help people get packages back home, back to Trinidad. And I'm like, okay, do you have any money? No, I don't have any money. All right, the best businesses, right? And so that's how I started my first company, on like a idea and a prayer and lots of luck. And it was just solving a problem, which I think most great businesses are built around. We found a niche where we could help people in Trinidad shop online, and we could get it home fast and inexpensive. And it took off. And then we just went island by island by island, about 20 something different islands. Did parts of Central America, parts of Africa, parts of the Middle East. Opened up other hubs in like London, Amsterdam, Canada, and just kept building this thing that I thought I would only be shipping CDs and shoes to now doing like just-in-time inventory for businesses. All of a sudden it was like it turned into something where I'm building a team. We had to get, the right people in the right seats. That's a real EOS thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we're doing all of this, and I have a vendor that I was using, and he comes and tells me about this book Traction. And I'm reading business books, and I just somehow did not come across this one. And I just totally devour it. Like, this is the best thing ever. And but typical me, and this is one of my, business faults, I would say, is I try to implement it myself. I go in, I get my team, we're doing our regular meetings, we're, you know, setting our rocks, we're going through the whole process. I'm such a proponent of it because I saw where it was going. It was building on it, but without a implementer there to guide us, it started to kind of fall apart. Like just to be honest, you need that implementer. Yes.
Yeah. This is the title of the episode. Just like, hey, just
Yeah.
hire an implementer. Okay, that's
Yeah.
good, Dan. Good job.
Hire
We'll
an
talk to you next time.
implementer. Yeah. I
So
mean,
how did you tell us the part of the story of kind of how you got from there to what you're doing now, and give us a little bit more about Schooley Mitchell and what you're doing there.
yeah. So, I keep going. 2018, we decide we're leaving South Florida. We're going back to North Carolina. My kids were 9 and 6, and I wanted to slow it down. South Florida has an intense energy. It's fun, but I wanted to slow it down. Um, so that's how we ended up here. And then I was doing the commute, going back and forth to Miami every month, every 6 weeks. Just got tired of it. And then also, your partner and yourself, you start to maybe have a few different visions on where you want to go. So in 23, I sold it. We just agreed, mutually. We're so good friends. And he bought me out. That's how we just ended up doing it. And then I decided I'm retired. Like serious. I'm gonna just take time. I'm gonna do not much family, a lot of cooking, travel, just kind of take it easy. But after a while, when you got that business bug in you, you just can't sit around. So I was like, all right, what am I gonna do? And I think most businesses or business people, do something that you're good at, not just what you love. So I was really like, what am I good at? Plus, do I enjoy it? So that's what, led me to Schooley Mitchell. I thought about with some other friends starting another, like a firm, like maybe doing some financial stuff. I did look at buying some other companies, but none of it felt right. So Schooley Mitchell stood out. It being a franchise, to be honest, I didn't think I would ever buy a franchise. I was accustomed creating my own stuff, so I thought that would be unique. What I really liked about it to start with is how hard it is to get the right people, right? When you're building a team. So I'm going into a company that has great support, as in the analyst. So when I'm working on a deal, working with a client, and I need that expert that like knows every vendor, knows, has seen the situation before, I have them right there. So I have about 100 and something analysts that support me in all different ways. So that really attracted me to it. That okay, I'm going to start off with a great team. I decided I'm just going to do that. So I only started earlier this year. And then one of the other challenges I had was my network is not in North Carolina. I never worked in North Carolina. So it was, okay, if I'm going to do this, we're going to go all in. So that's part of my mentality too. It's like, let's just go. So I started networking a lot. And that's how I met Play, is obviously through the chamber. Um, and then I visited some BNIs, joined that, did some other stuff, got in some executive networking groups. I qualified because I, managed a large enough business before, so that was great. I just started getting out into community and meeting other business owners or executives. And then that
Cool.
led me
And
to one client to another.
go ahead,
So,
Josh.
Dane, when you're working
mm,
with these organizations, what are the most common challenges that they face, or we could even say mistakes that they're making that you help them correct, where they're either spending too much money, right, and you're helping them contain those costs, or where they're just leaving profit out there. For our listeners, what are some easy things that they could take away or examine in their own businesses today?
yeah. I mean, so the easiest one, and I made this mistake myself as an entrepreneur, is that you sign up an account, you're working with that vendor, and it's just on autopilot. It just your contract order renews. You get the bill, you pay the bill, or whatever, or your finance person just gets it, and literally they kind of joke, they kind of weigh it. It looks about right, and they pay. You know, because it's like, okay, it was let's just say it was $1,000, and now it's 1,050, and then it's, like it just slowly creeps, so nothing stands out. It doesn't go from 1,000 to 5,000 overnight. It just slowly increase. That's an easy one. That's like number one. It's like, I want to know, how long have you worked with this vendor? How long have you had this contract? Let's see, is there an order renew in place? What's that order renew set at? 5%, 10%. That's probably the easiest one that anybody can take away. Go and look at your contract, see if there's auto renew, turn them off. Like, get them off of it. People don't like to renegotiate, but guess what? The company doesn't want to lose you. Like, that's what you have negotiating power, no matter how small you are. They took a long time to find you, to get you as a client. They don't want you to just leave. So
So
if
when
you
you're
can,
when you're talking to clients about that, is there like a certain category that they should look at first where you see that happening most prevalently? Like which of their bills should they look at first? Because I know that everyone who's listening would love to find another $4,000 so a month. So
it really depends on the business. I mean, that's
uh
tricky, right? It depends on what you're doing. So I can go through like a gamut of some businesses I've worked with. A law firm, they're accepting credit cards. And yes, most of them have to use like some sort of legal merchant service software, LawPay, Clio, stuff like that. They're still negotiable. I mean, it's still, and just because you have it set, it's working great, you like them, it doesn't hurt to call the rep and say, hey, I've been with you for 5 years. I spent this much a month. You probably get a 10, 15% discount without much work, you know?
Good.
Like, that's an easy one. We probably get larger, just to be honest. I mean, we're getting somewhere about 25 to 30. Like, that's
On
what we're
payment
doing.
processing or just kind of
Yeah,
generally?
but
Yeah.
general across the board, but payment processing, that's typical. I mean, unless someone is already starting at a great rate, which you sometimes see. I mean, I just saw it 2 weeks ago. Medium-sized law firm went in within 15 minutes. I looked at their stuff. They gave me 5 different categories, and I was out. And I just said, "You have it set up perfectly." Like I'm just being honest. Like, you're in a great spot. Like,
Right.
there's no need to negotiate anything. This one contract we should look at in 2 years, because you don't want to break this one because the penalty's too great. That's
When
the
you
only
when
one.
when you're working with a client, like one of the things that I've been talking with clients about recently is this idea that these big like kind of efforts, right? Like that we put into rocks. You know EOS well enough, like big 90-day priorities. But what we don't want to do is have the stuff that we do all the time just require a rock every time. We want to turn it from a rock, big upfront effort, into a system that we can that can have its own momentum. So I can see really clearly in what you do to help businesses, Dane, that there's like some big upfront work for clients for whom you do that big upfront work. How do you turn that into like ongoing, just kind of discipline? Like, what are the tricks of the trade to like make sure that it's not just a one-time thing and then, oh shit, we forgot about that for 5 years. You know what I'm saying?
Well, definitely the way we work, just so you're clear, when we sign with a client, we're actually on for 3 years. So in those three
Okay.
years, they're going to watch what we do, which is so it's just once a quarter, we audit the last 3 invoices. And it's not a ton of time unless it's a very complex bill. But most of the time, what you're looking for is, this is the contract. Is there any price creep? Are there any issues? So it's a quick thing. And I think it comes down to discipline. If we're talking about expenses, That's where your controller comes in, not really the CFO. That's your controller, your bookkeeper. You know, you have to put in those SOPs that they're actually looking at the bill and not just putting in the number into QuickBooks. So we do that for 3 years. We're building that, and we're letting the bookkeeper, whoever it is, person, like, hey, this is what we did. This is what we did. End of the year, we're meeting with the business owner to review. This is what we did for the year. So you're hoping that sort of builds on itself, and then they have this, routine that they just get into. So it's an easy thing. And you asked me, that's something else that I find I save more. People always look at the numbers, the money. It's time. It is 100% time. Company I'm working with right now, I'm not gonna name the vendor, but they hate the vendor with a passion. And I literally was like, so why didn't you change? And they're like, one, we just didn't have the time. Like, we have looked, and then it kind of, your day-to-day whirlwind fire, you're back in, you're sucked back in. And I think also they're afraid that maybe they make another bad choice. I don't know. So that's what they keep, like, every conversation I've had with them ends with a big thank you. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for looking at this. The fact that we can bring in options that it's not that we represent anybody, but that we know have worked for other companies. I think that's what, they're really happy about.
Dane, when you're working with organizations that don't run on EOS versus those that do, what are the differences that you notice? And how does that affect your work with them?
Definitely organization. I mean, just the structure, knowing where they're going. It's very disjointed if they're not on EOS. I mean, you can come in, have a conversation, because I like to meet the team. I want them to know who I am. I may mainly be working with the finance, obviously, on the numbers, but I'm going to need someone in operations that works with that vendor. And it does amaze me that I'll come in, meet the owner, meet the finance person, and then let's say 2 weeks down the road, once I've got everything numbers wise, copies of invoices, contracts, I reach out to the ops guy or ops girl, and they don't have a clue who I am. I'm like, you would think if they were having a weekly meeting, check-in, that would have been discussed. We hired someone to do this. This is your department. That's the number one thing I can tell right away. That's like, whoa, you guys need EOS, because that needs to be discussed. Hey, John, things coming in, to do this for that vendor that you manage. Like, he should be at the first meeting, to be honest, but still, and that's the telltale sign. Organization. Everybody kind of rowing in the same direction. And I guess also, I'm a big vibe guy. You feel it. You come in, you feel it. It's like, oh yeah, they got something going. Everybody's just eyes forward. Let's go.
We had a guest on earlier who was talking about sales.
Oh.
And he was talking about like building this intentional culture around, like, no matter what department you're in, accounting, service, ops, whatever, everyone's a salesperson, and that's true. And also everyone's responsible for like reducing waste, right?
Yeah.
Because ultimately, like, what you're looking for, right, is stuff that we're spending money on that we don't need to be. And like creating this culture of everyone's looking under the rock for opportunities and everyone's looking under the rock for things that we don't need to be spending money on.
Yeah.
It's just, you're right. It's a vibe. Right.
It's a vibe. It's a climate. It's a climate that should be set, that everybody feels empowered to go, hey, I don't like this vendor. I know, I don't like how this is working, and can report up or talk to the owner if it's a smaller company and just say, look, I think we need a change, or this, I think we're wasting money over here. Like, that just needs to have that climate of openness, and I think that's why I keep going back to like EOS, that weekly, that cadence, that it creates that.
Right.
Everybody can come in there, say what's important, and then you set your agenda and you go. Yep.
Dane, I'm gonna ask you for two things. I'm gonna put them in your head now, then I'll talk a little bit. One, I'm gonna ask you how people can get in touch with you, because I know that everyone that is listening to the podcast would love to save some dollars. So what's the best way to get in touch with you? Secondly, I'm going to ask you for a nugget. Like, if there's one tip that our listeners could leave here and take action on tomorrow, what would it be? So while you're thinking of that, I'm going to start with Josh. Nuggets from today's episode, Josh, what you got?
So, as Dane talked about calling up a vendor that you've had a relationship with for quite some time, and sort of reminding everyone that they have negotiating power. And I always live by everything is negotiable. And I think also what really underlined Dane's point is, if you don't ask, the answer's always no. So doesn't hurt to go and ask. And so right now, for our listeners, make some phone calls to vendors today. Might save yourself some time and money.
Yep.
It's so crazy how so often the answer to the issue is simply talk to someone. Like, literally pick up the phone and ask. Yeah, cool. Love it.
Did you ask, or did you tell them that?
Yeah, right. Right. Oh my God. It's so simple and so hard. Yeah. All right, Dane, for our listeners who want to save some money, which should be all of them, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
I love an email. Just email me. It's Dane.Dougall, so that's Dougall at SchooleyMitchell.com. Just shoot me an email and we'll get to talking. And I like to tell everybody, in a simple conversation, 15, 20 minutes, I will be able to give you something. It's a very simple process.
All right. And give us a nugget. Give us a nugget for our listeners. One thing they can do tomorrow.
To feed off Josh's nugget, it's like, yes, you should know what you have. Don't just, review exactly what you need, just so that when you call that vendor, you know exactly what you typically pay. You have the information. So do that, and don't be afraid to look outside. Look at another vendor. Nowadays, come on, information is everywhere. Ask around. Ask your neighbors. Who were they using? Ask your competitors. Most competitors are willing to share information. That's what I say. Find out, see what else people are using. I did that with you, Clay, before we had our little seminar. I walked down the streets of Little Hillsborough and talked to the business owners, find out who they were each using. Yeah, and I'm like, if someone did that right there along those businesses, they would get all the information they need right there. It's super simple.
That's a really good point. Like, it's so often that we get frustrated or want something better, but we don't know the context of what better would even look like.
Yeah.
And so you have to do that work 100%. Yeah. I love that as a nugget. That's cool. Yeah. Well, I want to thank you, Dane, for joining us. This was really fun. I really enjoyed your story. It's a fun, kind of entrepreneurial arc, and we're glad you're here in North Carolina. And we're glad that you're helping all of the businesses around here save some money. So thanks for coming on the podcast. It's been really nice to hear from you. And that's it for the show. I'm Clay. He's Josh. He's Dane. We'll tag you on LinkedIn too, just in case people want to find you there. That's cool, right?
Yeah, of course.
Awesome. And so thank you for listening. We're so glad that you're here. Please like, rate, comment, share. Let us know who you want to have on the podcast or what you want to hear us talk about. Maybe we can talk about Carolina football one day. Just kidding. We're never going to talk about that. And thank you so much for listening. Good job, everybody. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.